Have you ever experienced that strange feeling, that inexplicable moment when everything around you seems to align perfectly, as if the universe itself is trying to communicate something profound directly to your soul? That sudden electric recognition that you're standing at the threshold of something extraordinary. What you're about to discover in the next few minutes isn't something I stumbled upon by accident. This wisdom, these insights, this moment where our energies converge, it's all part of a grand cosmic orchestration that's been unfolding since long before either of us recognized it. The fact that you're watching this video at this specific moment in your journey speaks to something far more significant than mere chance. I believe we're drawn to certain messages exactly when our spirits are ready to receive them. Stay with me until the end, because the revelations I'm about to share could completely transform the trajectory of your existence in ways you never thought possible. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how certain pivotal moments in your life seem to arrive with perfect timing? That job offer that appeared just as you were. Gathering the courage to leave your previous position. That chance encounter with someone who later became instrumental in your growth. That book that somehow found its way into your hands precisely when you needed its message most. These aren't coincidences. They're synchronicities, cosmic breadcrumbs guiding you toward your highest expression. And right now, you're experiencing one of those synchronistic moments. The universe has been patiently arranging circumstances, experiences, and even challenges in your life to prepare you for what comes next. The next 24 hours hold within them a potential energy unlike any other, a window of transformation where the veil between what is and what could be grows incredibly thin. Has this ever happened to you? That sensation of time slowing down, as if the universe itself is holding its breath, waiting for you to recognize a profound truth that's been hiding in plain sight all along. What I'm about to share isn't about temporary fixes or surface-level changes. We're diving into the depths of cosmic consciousness, the fundamental laws that govern creation itself. These aren't principles you need to learn from scratch. They're truths your soul has always known and has been yearning to remember. Throughout human history, spiritual masters and wisdom keepers have protected these insights, knowing they would find their way to those whose hearts were truly prepared to receive them. The subtle stirring you feel inside right now, that gentle recognition, that quiet excitement, is your soul's way of saying, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. The awakening that begins in these next 24 hours doesn't require you to become someone new. It simply invites you to remember who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and limiting beliefs that have accumulated over time. What you're about to discover is that the power to completely transform your reality has been within you all along, waiting patiently for this precise moment of recognition. And as we stand at this threshold together, I invite you to take a deep breath and prepare yourself for what comes next. Join our community of conscious creators by subscribing to this channel. Together, we're creating a field of resonance that's transforming not just individual lives, but the collective consciousness of humanity. Have you ever wondered why certain people seem to attract abundance into their lives with such apparent ease, while others remain locked in cycles of struggle and scarcity despite their best efforts? I used to ask myself this question constantly, watching as some individuals manifested their desires almost magically, while others pushed and strained without seeing results. The hidden truth I discovered, the revelation that changed everything for me, is that this difference doesn't stem from luck, background or even talent. It comes from a deep, intuitive alignment with the universal laws that govern all creation. These cosmic principles operate with perfect precision, whether we acknowledge them or not. Much like gravity continues to function regardless of our belief in it. What's fascinating about these universal laws is that they aren't foreign concepts we must struggle to comprehend. They're primordial truths your soul already knows intimately. The journey isn't about learning something new, but remembering what has been temporarily forgotten during your human experience. Deep within your being lies an ancient wisdom that recognizes these patterns instantly, which explains that subtle resonance you might be feeling right now as we explore these concepts together. This wisdom isn't modern or trendy. It has been preserved and passed down through millennia, traveling through what I can only describe as the silent corridors of eternity. Imagine for a moment the countless generations of seekers who have protected and transmitted these sacred understandings, often at great personal risk, ensuring they would survive to reach those ready to receive them. And now, in this precise moment of cosmic timing, these ancient echoes have found you. That gentle stirring you feel inside as you hear these words, that quiet sense of, yes, this feels right, isn't mere coincidence or emotional reaction. It's recognition. It's your soul acknowledging a truth it has always known, but has been waiting for the right conditions to fully embrace again. Behind the scenes of our visible reality lies an intelligence so vast and intricate that it coordinates billions of moving pieces to create the perfect circumstances for your awakening. The challenges you've faced, the questions that have haunted you, the inexplicable yearnings you've felt, all have been preparing you for this moment of remembrance. The mindset shift that occurs when you begin to align with these universal principles is nothing short of revolutionary. Suddenly, what seemed like random events reveal themselves as meaningful guideposts. What appeared as obstacles transform into gateways. The very fabric of your reality begins to respond differently as your vibrational frequency adjusts to match your true nature. This isn't about forcing outcomes through sheer willpower or exhausting yourself with endless action steps. It's about understanding the subtle dance between intention and surrender, between conscious creation and inspired flow. When you operate in harmony with these principles, life gains a certain effortlessness, not because you're doing less, but because you're aligning with currents far more powerful than individual effort alone. Now, I want to go even deeper into what happens when you begin to embody this ancient understanding in your daily existence. The transformation isn't merely philosophical. It manifests in tangible shifts in your relationships, your work, your health, and your sense of purpose. As you reconnect with this timeless wisdom, every decision you make becomes infused with a clarity and power that wasn't accessible before. If what I'm sharing resonates with something deep inside you, write in the comments, "My soul remembers this wisdom." Let's acknowledge together this profound journey of remembrance we're undertaking. What brought you here today wasn't merely curiosity or random chance. There's a deeper current at work, a soul-level calling that perhaps you weren't even consciously aware of making. Think about it. Of all the millions of videos you could be watching right now, of all the paths your attention could have taken, something guided you to this particular message at this particular moment. That gentle nudge, that quiet knowing, that inexplicable sense of, "I need to hear this." That's your higher self recognizing a truth it's been waiting to remember. The journey of awakening often begins this way, not with dramatic revelations or lightning bolts of insight, but with subtle invitations that whisper rather than shout. Your presence here, right now, is an answer to that whisper, a response to a call that originated from the deepest part of your being, the part that remains connected to the cosmic intelligence that orchestrates all of existence. That slight flutter you might feel as you absorb these words, that sense of anticipation or recognition, is not just emotional reaction. It's a part of your consciousness that has been patiently waiting for this awakening. It's like a dormant seed that has been quietly persisting through seasons of drought, ready to burst into life at the first nourishing rainfall. You are that seed, and this moment is the rainfall your spirit has been awaiting. This awakening isn't happening to you alone. Across the globe, a community of souls is experiencing similar stirrings, similar recognitions. We're witnessing a collective remembrance, a synchronized return to truths that have been temporarily forgotten but never truly lost. The resonance you feel is amplified by countless others who are also answering their soul's call, creating a harmonic convergence that strengthens each individual awakening. But let me be clear. What begins in these next 24 hours isn't about temporary fixes or surface-level improvements. I'm not talking about another self-help technique that provides momentary motivation before fading away. The transformation I'm describing reaches far deeper than changing habits or setting goals, though those external shifts will naturally follow as reflections of the inner revolution. This is about a fundamental shift in how you perceive yourself and your relationship with reality. It's a profound awakening to your true nature as a conscious creator, a being who participates actively in shaping existence rather than merely reacting to circumstances. The breakthrough realization isn't that you need to become something different, but that you need to remember who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and limitation. The hidden truth behind all authentic transformation is that you're not actually becoming something new. You're remembering your original state, reconnecting with the infinite creative consciousness that is your birthright and natural condition. The universal laws we're exploring have been operating in your life all along, whether you've been conscious of them or not. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs have always been generating magnetic frequencies that attract corresponding experiences. The difference now is that you're beginning to work with these laws consciously rather than by default. When you realign with these cosmic principles, the impact ripples through every dimension of your experience. Relationships that once seemed challenging suddenly reveal their purpose. Work that felt draining becomes infused with new meaning or naturally falls away to make space for more aligned opportunities. Even your physical well-being responds to this energetic recalibration as tension and resistance dissolve in the presence of your remembrance. Behind the scenes of this awakening process is a profound simplicity. Despite all the complexity we perceive in daily life, the core mechanism of conscious creation follows principles so elegant and consistent that once recognized, they seem almost obvious. It's like discovering that you've been holding the key to a door you've been pushing against for years. What unfolds as we continue exploring these principles together is a roadmap for navigating reality from a place of empowered awareness rather than unconscious reaction. If you're feeling that internal yes, that quiet excitement about the journey we're embarking on together, write in the comments, "I'm awakening to my creative power." Let's acknowledge this sacred threshold we're crossing together. The wisdom I'm sharing with you contains keys that have been preserved across generations, timeless teachings that hold the power to fundamentally transform your vibration, rewrite what you might have once called destiny, and recreate your reality from its deepest foundations. This isn't about superficial change or temporary improvement. It's about accessing the quantum field of infinite possibilities that has always surrounded you, but perhaps remained invisible to your conscious awareness. Have you ever experienced that fascinating phenomenon where the solution to a problem you've been obsessing over suddenly appears the moment you stop actively searching for it? That breakthrough insight, arrives precisely when you've surrendered the struggle and allowed your mind to rest. This seemingly paradoxical pattern reveals one of the most powerful principles of consciousness, the art of aligned allowing versus forced seeking. When we approach manifestation from a place of desperate grasping or anxious striving, we actually create resistance in the very energy field we're trying to influence. It's like trying to see your reflection clearly in water while simultaneously disturbing its surface. The stillness that comes with surrender isn't passive resignation, it's a powerful recalibration that allows the universe to deliver what has been trying to reach you all along. The journey of transformation begins with understanding that your vibrational frequency is the primary determinant of what you experience as your reality. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you cultivate, every belief you hold, these aren't just subjective experiences happening inside your mind. They're energetic broadcasts that ripple outward, interacting with the conscious intelligence of the universe itself. When you shift these inner patterns, the external reflection must change accordingly, not because you're manipulating reality, but because you're aligning with its fundamental nature. Think about those moments when exactly the right person entered your life precisely when you needed them most, or when a book containing exactly the wisdom you required somehow found its way into your hands, or when an opportunity appeared that seemed custom designed for your unique gifts and circumstances. These aren't random coincidences or lucky breaks. They're examples of cosmic causality, the perfect orchestration of seemingly separate events into meaningful patterns that serve your evolution. Behind the scenes of what appears to be chance lies an intelligence so vast and intricate that it coordinates billions of variables to create what we experience as synchronicity. The meeting that changed the course of your career, the unexpected encounter that blossomed into a profound relationship, the apparent setback that ultimately directed you toward your true purpose. All were choreographed with a precision that becomes visible only when you step back and observe the larger pattern. If these timeless teachings have resonated with your soul, subscribe to continue this journey of awakening. Each video is designed to help you remember more of your infinite creative potential. This perfect timing operates according to a different framework than the linear clock-based time we've been conditioned to live by. It follows what ancient wisdom traditions called kairos, the right or opportune moment, regardless of what the calendar or clock might indicate. When you begin to attune yourself to this more organic, flowing sense of divine timing, you stop forcing outcomes and start recognizing the elegant unfolding that has always been guiding your journey. The revelations I'm sharing aren't meant to remain abstract concepts or interesting philosophical ideas. They're meant to be lived, to be integrated into your moment-by-moment experience until they become your new operating system. As you begin to consciously participate in this dance of energy and consciousness, you'll notice a profound shift in how reality responds to you. Doors that seemed permanently closed suddenly open. Resources you need appear at the perfect moment. People who resonate with your new frequency are naturally drawn into your experience. What makes this transformation so powerful is that it doesn't require you to manipulate external circumstances or control outcomes through sheer force of will. Instead, it invites you to address the causal level of reality, the inner landscape of consciousness from which all outer conditions emerge. When you change the root, the fruit changes automatically. When you alter the source, the manifestation naturally follows. If you've experienced those moments of perfect timing in your life that seem too perfectly orchestrated to be mere coincidence, write in the comments, "Divine timing has been guiding me all along." Let's explore how these synchronized moments are actually glimpses into the intelligent design operating in your life. Throughout history, A golden thread of wisdom has been carefully preserved and passed down from generation to generation. Ancient civilizations from Egypt to Tibet, from the mystic traditions of Judaism to the indigenous shamanic practices of the Americas, all held pieces of this cosmic understanding. These weren't random spiritual beliefs or primitive attempts to explain the unknown. They were sophisticated frameworks for understanding the true nature of consciousness and its relationship with the material world. Masters, mystics, and sages became the guardians of these profound truths, often concealing them in symbols, parables, and initiatory practices. This wasn't out of elitism or a desire for secrecy, but from a deep understanding that certain revelations can only be fully comprehended when the heart and mind have been properly prepared to receive them. Like giving advanced quantum physics to someone who hasn't yet grasped basic arithmetic, these higher understandings require a foundation that unfolds through stages of readiness. That's why these teachings couldn't be forced or casually distributed. They needed to be revealed at precisely the right moment in a seeker's journey, when the questions had matured, when the experiences had accumulated, when the inner soil had been properly tilled. This cosmic timing ensures that the seed of truth falls on fertile ground where it can fully bloom rather than being scattered where it might be misunderstood or misapplied. Your presence here now, engaging with these concepts, feeling that resonance in your heart, is confirmation that the time has come for you. The fact that these words are finding a home in your understanding, that they're illuminating rather than confusing you, reveals your readiness. This isn't about intellectual capacity, but spiritual ripeness, a quality of consciousness that transcends mere mental comprehension. Behind the scenes, the universe has been patiently orchestrating this moment of recognition for longer than you might imagine. Every experience you've lived through, from your most ecstatic joys to your deepest sorrows, has been carefully calibrated to prepare you for this threshold of awakening. Those challenges that seemed senseless or cruel at the time, they were developing specific qualities of resilience, compassion, or discernment necessary for the journey ahead. The unexpected gifts and synchronicities, glimpses of the greater intelligence guiding your path, showing you the possibilities beyond conventional understanding. Nothing in your journey has been wasted or random. The universe doesn't operate through chaos, but through an exquisite precision that often becomes visible only in retrospect. That relationship that broke your heart, it cleared space for a deeper connection with yourself and ultimately with others. That career setback, it redirected you toward work more aligned with your authentic gifts. Even your moments of greatest doubt and questioning were essential, creating the very openings through which new understanding could enter. The signs and guideposts have always been there, subtle but persistent, directing you toward this portal of transformation. Perhaps they appeared as recurring dreams or symbols that kept appearing in your life. Maybe certain books or teachings found their way to you through seemingly random circumstances. Or possibly specific people entered your experience briefly, but left an indelible impact that shifted your perspective. These weren't coincidences, but cosmic breadcrumbs deliberately placed to guide you through the labyrinth of human experience toward the center of your own awakening. What's most remarkable about this journey of revelation is that it unfolds with perfect timing, not according to our human schedules or expectations, but according to a deeper rhythm that honors the natural unfoldment of consciousness. Just as a fruit cannot be forced to ripen, but must be allowed to develop according to its innate timing, spiritual understanding emerges when all the necessary conditions have aligned, not a moment too soon or too late, but precisely when the soul is ready to receive and integrate its truth. The impact of this alignment extends far beyond conceptual understanding. As these timeless teachings activate within you, They begin to transform not just what you think, but how you perceive, how you feel, and ultimately how you create your reality. The veil between what you once considered possible and impossible grows increasingly thin as you recognize yourself as not just a passive observer of life, but as an active participant in its conscious unfoldment. If you sense that your entire life journey has been preparing you for a profound awakening that's now beginning to occur, write in the comments, "I've been guided to this moment." Let's explore how this preparation has been creating the perfect conditions for the transformation that's now unfolding. Imagine for a moment that every limitation you've experienced, every barrier, every sense of not enough, every feeling of separation or struggle, hasn't been your natural state at all. What if these constraints were simply the result of a profound forgetting? Not the ordinary kind of forgetfulness, like misplacing your keys or forgetting an appointment, but a deep ancestral amnesia about your true essence and capabilities. This concept might sound radical at first, but it's actually the great secret that spiritual masters have protected and inherently limited beings who need to transcend our nature. Rather, it's that we're boundless beings who have temporarily forgotten our infinite potential. We're like heirs to an unimaginable fortune who have been living in poverty simply because we misplaced the deed to our inheritance. The implications of this revelation are extraordinary. If your limitations aren't intrinsic to who you are, but are instead the result of forgetting, then the path to freedom isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about remembering who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and collective hypnosis. The journey isn't about addition, but subtraction, removing the false beliefs and artificial boundaries that have accumulated over time. Think about how this perspective transforms everything. Instead of struggling to acquire qualities you believe you lack, you begin to recognize that wholeness, abundance, and creative power are your birthright, your original state before the forgetting occurred. You don't need to become worthy of love or success or fulfillment. You simply need to clear away the misconceptions that have convinced you otherwise. Behind the scenes of this ancestral forgetting has been a powerful cultural narrative that reinforces separation and limitation. From early childhood, most of us absorbed messages about our inadequacy, about the scarce nature of resources, about the need to compete and struggle for our place in the world. These weren't necessarily taught with malicious intent, but they created a veil that obscured our recognition of our true nature as expressions of infinite consciousness. When you begin to see through this veil, when you start to question these fundamental assumptions about who you are and what's possible, something remarkable happens. The very fabric of your reality begins to respond differently. Opportunities that seemed blocked suddenly open. Resources that appeared scarce become abundant. Relationships that were strained find harmony, not because the external world has magically changed, but because you're operating from a completely different framework of being. The hidden truth behind all authentic transformation is that you already possess everything necessary for the life you desire to manifest. Every quality, every capacity, every resource you've been seeking externally has always existed within you, waiting to be remembered and expressed. This revelation might seem simple, but its impact when truly embodied is nothing short of revolutionary. It shifts the entire foundation from which you operate in the world. This is why genuine spiritual work isn't about adding more information or techniques to your repertoire. It's about removing the obstacles to your recognition of what has always been true. It's like cleaning a window that's become dusty over time. The light hasn't changed, but your ability to perceive it clearly has been restored. When enough of these obstructions have been cleared away, what remains isn't something new or foreign, but a profound homecoming to your essential nature. The decisions and choices that emerge from this place of remembrance have a completely different quality than those made from a sense of lack or separation. They are not driven by fear or desperation, but arise naturally from your authentic self-expression. They're aligned with the greater flow of life rather than pushing against it. They emerge with an ease and clarity that feels almost miraculous compared to the struggle and doubt that often accompanied decision-making in the past. What's most beautiful about this journey of remembrance is that it unfolds uniquely for each person. There's no standardized path or one-size-fits-all approach. The process honors your individual essence while revealing the universal truth that connects us all. It respects your personal timeline while guiding you toward the recognition that transcends time altogether. If you've begun to sense that your journey isn't about becoming something different, but about remembering your true magnificent nature, write in the comments, "I am remembering who I truly am." Let's explore how this remembrance begins to dissolve the specific limitations that have shaped your experience until now. As you begin this journey of self-discovery, something remarkable starts to unfold. Layer by layer, like an archaeological expedition into your own consciousness, you'll witness the gradual dissolution of everything that isn't truly you. All those limiting beliefs that whispered, "You can't," "You shouldn't," or "It's impossible." Beliefs you may have carried for so long that they felt like integral parts of your identity begin to lose their grip on your perception. These layers of conditioning didn't arrive randomly. Some were inherited from family patterns passed down through generations, ancestral templates of what's possible or appropriate. Others came from educational systems designed to create conformity rather than awakening. Still others were absorbed from cultural narratives about worthiness, success, and what constitutes a good life. None of these were inherently malicious, but collectively they created a veil that obscured your recognition of your authentic nature. The transformative impact of removing these layers cannot be overstated. Imagine living your entire life wearing tinted glasses that distorted colors and shapes, only to remove them suddenly and see the world as it truly is for the first time. The revelation isn't that you've gained new vision, but that you've removed what was obstructing your natural sight all along. This is what happens as limiting beliefs dissolve. You don't gain new capabilities so much as you remove the barriers to expressing what has always been present within you. Behind each dissolved limitation stands a profound truth waiting to be rediscovered. Behind "I don't deserve abundance" lies your natural state of worthiness. Behind "I'm not creative" waits your innate capacity for infinite expression. Behind "I'm powerless to change my circumstances" rests your fundamental nature as a conscious creator. These aren't new qualities you must develop through effort. They're original aspects of your being that emerge spontaneously when obstructions are cleared away. What makes this process so different from conventional self-improvement is that we're not adding or fixing anything. We're not implementing yet another technique or following a revolutionary new method. Instead, we're engaged in a sacred act of remembrance, a return to your natural state of abundance, clarity, and creative power. This distinction might seem subtle, but its implications are profound. When you approach transformation as a homecoming rather than an achievement, the entire journey shifts from striving to allowing, from forcing to flowing. Think about how a fruit tree naturally produces its harvest without strain or effort. It doesn't attend seminars on how to be a better apple tree or follow complex methodologies for fruit production. It simply expresses its intrinsic nature when provided with the right conditions. In the same way, your authentic expression, your gifts, your purpose, your capacity for joy and fulfillment emerges naturally when the conditions of your consciousness align with your essential being. The journey toward this alignment isn't about becoming something different, but reconnecting with what you've always been beneath the accumulated layers of forgetting. It's like the sculptor who doesn't create the statue, but simply removes the excess marble to reveal the form that was always present within the stone. You aren't creating a new self, but uncovering the original brilliance that has been waiting patiently for recognition. As this reconnection deepens, you'll notice a fundamental shift in how reality responds to you. The struggle and effort that once characterized manifestation begins to give way to a more elegant and efficient creative process. Instead of pushing against resistance, you find yourself carried by currents of synchronicity and support. Opportunities that align with your authentic expression begin to appear with remarkable timing. Resources flow more abundantly, not because you've learned better manifestation techniques, but because you've removed the inner obstacles to receiving what has always been available. This homecoming to your natural state gradually extends into every aspect of your life. Relationships become more authentic and fulfilling as you relate from essence rather than persona. Work transforms from obligation to creative expression as you align with your intrinsic gifts. Even your relationship with your physical body shifts as you recognize it not as something separate to be controlled or criticized, but as a sacred vessel for your consciousness to experience this earthly journey. The decisions you make from this place of reconnection have a completely different quality than those made from separation or lack. They emerge not from fear or desperation, but from the quiet certainty of your innate wisdom. They aren't calculated strategies designed to get you somewhere else, but natural expressions of who you already are, unfolding in perfect harmony with the greater intelligence of life itself. If you've begun to sense this subtle shift from striving to allowing, from becoming to remembering, write in the comments, "I'm returning to my natural state." Let's explore how this remembrance creates a fundamental shift in your experience of the creative process. When you become fully attuned to this universal law of creative flow, a fundamental shift occurs in how you experience every aspect of life. This transition is perhaps the most liberating breakthrough on the spiritual journey, the moment when you realize you no longer need to push, force, or struggle against the current of existence. Instead, you begin to move with the natural rhythms of life, flowing with a grace and ease that might appear almost magical to those observing from the outside. Think about how exhausting it's been, constantly swimming upstream against the powerful currents of life. Every manifestation becomes a battle, every desire an uphill climb, requiring immense willpower and perseverance. This approach isn't just energetically draining, it's fundamentally misaligned with how the universe actually operates. The cosmic intelligence that orchestrates galaxies and coordinates ecosystems doesn't function through force and struggle, but through elegant synchronization and perfect timing. Behind the scenes of this profound shift lies a completely different relationship with the creative process itself. In the old paradigm, manifestation was something you did, an external activity requiring strategic planning and relentless action. In this new understanding, manifestation becomes something you allow, an organic expression of your authentic being in harmony with the greater field of possibilities. The difference is subtle but revolutionary, like shifting from paddling exhaustively against the river's flow to navigating skillfully with its natural current. This flow mentality radically transforms the entire manifestation process. When you're aligned with universal currents rather than fighting against them, you notice a remarkable dissolution of the endless cycle of desire and frustration that once characterized your relationship with creation. You're no longer trapped in that painful pattern of wanting desperately, trying forcefully, becoming disappointed, and then wanting something else. The exhausting hamster wheel of consciousness that keeps so many spiritual seekers perpetually unfulfilled. The breakthrough happens when you recognize that authentic manifestation doesn't emerge from a place of lack or desperate longing. It arises from a deep, unshakable certainty that what seeks to express through you is already moving toward you through the intelligent orchestration of life itself. This isn't blind faith or wishful thinking, it's a profound recognition of how the universe actually functions when we align with its inherent wisdom rather than imposing our limited perspectives upon it. Imagine the difference between these two approaches. In one, you're constantly scanning the horizon for what's missing, focusing on the gap between where you are and where you want to be, strategizing and straining to bridge that perceived distance. In the other, you're fully present and receptive, trusting the natural unfoldment of your authentic path while taking inspired action from a place of alignment rather than anxiety. The first approach creates resistance and depletion. The second generates momentum and renewal. This transition doesn't mean you become passive or abandon your dreams and desires. Quite the opposite. Your creative engagement with life becomes more potent and precise because it's no longer contaminated by the static of fear, doubt, and separation. Your actions emerge not from desperation, but from inspiration, not from lack, but from fullness, not from should, but from want. This alignment creates a magnetic resonance that naturally attracts corresponding circumstances, opportunities, and resources. The decisions you make from this place of flow have an entirely different quality and impact than those made from resistance. They aren't calculated maneuvers designed to manipulate outcomes, but authentic expressions of your inner guidance system. They feel less like effort and more like recognition, a clear yes that emerges from your core rather than a forced choice made from your conditioning. As you follow these aligned impulses, you begin to witness the remarkable synchronicity that has always been available, but perhaps wasn't visible through the lens of struggle. What makes this approach so transformative is that it honors the intelligence of life itself, the same wisdom that knows precisely when a flower should bloom, when a tide should turn, when a star should be born. You're no longer trying to override this cosmic orchestration with your limited personal agenda, but participating consciously in its elegant unfoldment. You become a co-creator rather than a controller, a channel rather than a dictator, a vessel through which greater possibilities can express themselves. As this flow mentality becomes your new normal, you'll notice that the distance between desire and manifestation begins to collapse. The lengthy gaps of waiting and wondering give way to a more immediate reflection between your authentic state of being and your outer experience. This doesn't mean you get everything you want instantly, but that the creative process itself becomes more fluid and responsive, less rigid and resistant. The universe is no longer something to conquer, but a partner in your creative expression. If you've begun to sense this shift from forcing to flowing, from struggling to allowing in your own journey of manifestation, write in the comments, "I'm learning to flow with life's current." Let's explore how this flow mentality transforms not only what you create, but your entire experience of the creative process itself. Now, I want to go even deeper into understanding the mechanics of how this transformation actually works. Behind the scenes of our visible, tangible reality operates an invisible intelligence, a conscious field of potential that responds constantly and precisely to the vibrational frequency we emit. This isn't merely an esoteric concept or a spiritual belief system. It's a fundamental law of existence that operates with the same consistency and reliability as gravity. Think about it. We don't need to believe in gravity for it to work, do we? Whether you acknowledge its presence or not, the moment you step off a ledge, the gravitational force will draw you downward. Your belief or disbelief doesn't alter its operation in the slightest. In the same way, this responsive, Intelligence of the universe continues functioning perfectly, regardless of whether you recognize it, understand it, or believe in it. It simply is. The revelation that transforms everything is recognizing that this field isn't some distant force separate from you. It's the very medium in which you exist, the substance of your being, the intelligence that beats your heart and grows your cells without any conscious effort on your part. You're not just in the field, you are the field, expressing itself in a unique configuration called you. This recognition dissolves the illusory boundary between creator and creation, between the manifester and what is manifested. Every decision you make throughout your day, both the conscious choices you deliberately select and the unconscious patterns you automatically follow, is actively shaping your energy field. This isn't a metaphor or a poetic description, but a precise account of how reality functions at levels beyond the perception of our physical senses. The thoughts you consistently entertain, the emotions you regularly nurture, the words you habitually speak, all of these elements contribute to the specific frequency you broadcast into the cosmos. Behind this broadcasting system lies an extraordinary precision. The universe doesn't respond to what you say you want or what you occasionally visualize during meditation. It responds to your predominant vibrational state, the energetic signature you emit most consistently through your moment-to-moment being. This is why affirmations or visualization practices sometimes fail to produce results. If your words affirm abundance while your energetic state resonates with scarcity, the universe responds to the latter because it's the more powerful broadcast. The mathematical precision with which this system operates is both humbling and empowering. There's no favoritism, no random chance, no capricious forces determining who receives what. The reflection you experience in your outer reality is an exact correspondence to the inner frequency you maintain, not as punishment or reward, but as the natural operation of a perfectly calibrated system. When you truly grasp this principle, blame dissolves because you recognize that nothing is happening to you, everything is happening through you and as a result of your energetic output. This understanding revolutionizes your approach to transformation. Instead of focusing exclusively on changing external conditions, you redirect your attention to the causal level, the vibrational frequency you're emitting. You recognize that trying to change circumstances without altering your energetic broadcast is like trying to change your reflection in a mirror without changing your own appearance. It's an exercise in frustration that contradicts the fundamental laws of reality. The revelatory insight here is that you're already using this creative mechanism perfectly. You're already manifesting with flawless precision. The question isn't whether you're creating your reality, you absolutely are, but whether you're doing so consciously or unconsciously, by default or by design. Every experience you're having right now is the perfect manifestation of your predominant vibrational state. Once you recognize this, you can begin to consciously calibrate your frequency rather than broadcasting on autopilot. This calibration happens through what I call vibrational hygiene, becoming exquisitely aware of your energetic state and making deliberate choices that align with what you wish to experience. It means catching limiting thoughts before they gain momentum. It means choosing emotions that match your desired reality rather than your current circumstances. It means speaking words that reflect possibility rather than limitation. These aren't superficial techniques, but profound alignments with how reality actually functions. The journey of conscious creation isn't about forcing the universe to give you what you want. It's about tuning yourself to the frequency of what you desire so precisely that its manifestation becomes the natural, inevitable consequence of universal law. Just as water must flow downhill according to the law of gravity, Your desires must manifest when you maintain their vibrational equivalent according to this law of creative resonance. If you've been noticing how your predominant thoughts and feelings seem to materialize in your experiences, confirming this invisible but precise relationship, write in the comments, "I am a conscious broadcaster." Let's explore how you can begin to deliberately calibrate this broadcast to create your reality by design rather than by default. Now, I want to go even deeper into what might be the most counterintuitive yet powerful shift in your manifestation journey. This transformation begins with what many would consider a radical decision, choosing inner peace as your absolute priority. Not success, not achievement, not even the specific outcomes you desire, but peace itself. This isn't the passive choice it might initially appear to be. It's actually the most dynamic and transformative decision you can make in your creative process. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that the path to manifestation involves intense focus, unwavering determination, and consistent effort, pushing through resistance to make things happen through sheer force of will. We've been taught that if we want something badly enough and work hard enough, we'll eventually achieve it. While there's certainly value in commitment and aligned action, this approach often creates precisely the energetic conditions that block our manifestations. What's happening behind the scenes when we approach creation from this place of striving and tension? We're actually broadcasting a frequency of absence and struggle rather than the frequency of our desire. Think about it. When you're pushing intensely toward a goal, the underlying energy often contains doubt, fear, and a fundamental belief that what you want isn't already yours. You're essentially telling the universe, "This thing I want isn't here, and I have to struggle to get it," which reinforces the very absence you're trying to overcome. Inner peace creates a completely different vibrational environment for manifestation. This isn't simply a pleasant emotional state to experience occasionally, it's the optimal condition for effective creation. When you operate from centered serenity, you're no longer broadcasting frequencies of lack, struggle, or separation. Instead, you're emitting the clear, coherent signal of wholeness and completion that naturally attracts corresponding experiences into your reality. From this peaceful center, your desires transform from desperate needs into creative invitations. They're no longer expressions of what's missing, but expansions of what already is. This subtle but profound shift changes everything about how the universe responds to your creative impulses. Rather than trying to fill a perceived hole in your experience, you're allowing a natural evolution of the wholeness you already embody. The universe responds not to need, but to resonance, not to pushing, but to allowing. The mindset breakthrough I call soft landings for miracles emerges naturally from this understanding. When you recognize how tension and excessive effort can block precisely the manifestations you most desire, you begin to create psychological and energetic space for your creations to land gently in your experience. Instead of clutching tightly to specific outcomes or timelines, you maintain a state of relaxed expectancy, completely aligned with your desires, but not attached to exactly how or when they appear. Imagine you're trying to attract butterflies into your garden. If you run around desperately chasing them with a net, they'll naturally flee from your approach. But if you create a welcoming environment, sit quietly, and allow them to come to you in their own time and way, the experience unfolds with grace and ease. This is the essence of preparing soft landings for your manifestations, creating the inner conditions that welcome rather than chase, that receive rather than grasp. The impact of this approach extends far beyond individual manifestations. As you consistently prioritize inner peace, regardless of external conditions, you begin to experience what I call lifelong resonance with the creative intelligence of the Universe. This isn't a technique you apply occasionally, but a fundamental shift in how you relate to the entire process of reality creation. You're no longer bouncing between states of alignment and misalignment, but establishing a stable foundation of coherence from which all your experiences emerge. This peaceful center becomes your default state rather than something you struggle to achieve. From this foundation, manifestation becomes less about making things happen and more about allowing your authentic expression to flow into form. The pressure dissolves, the struggle subsides, and creation becomes a natural extension of your being rather than a separate activity you perform. Your entire life becomes an elegant dance of co-creation with the universe rather than a battle to overcome resistance. The decisions you make from this peaceful state have a completely different impact than those made from tension or fear. They emerge not from reaction, but from wisdom, not from lack, but from wholeness, not from separation, but from connection. As you navigate your journey from this centered awareness, you'll find that what once required immense effort now unfolds with remarkable ease, not because the universe has changed, but because you're finally aligned with how it has always worked. If you've noticed how things seem to manifest more easily when you're in a state of peace rather than desperate striving, write in the comments, "I'm creating soft landings for my miracles." Let's explore how this peaceful foundation transforms not just what you create, but your entire experience of the creative journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into a profound shift in perspective that transforms your entire approach to spiritual growth. What you've begun experiencing isn't a process of learning something new, but of remembering something ancient and primordial that you've always known at the soul level. This distinction might seem subtle, but its implications are revolutionary. When we frame our journey as learning, we position ourselves as beginners, separate from the wisdom we seek, starting from zero, accumulating information from outside ourselves. But when we recognize it as remembering, we acknowledge that the wisdom has always been within us, simply waiting for the veils of forgetting to be lifted. This remembrance isn't about intellectual concepts or memorizing spiritual principles. It's about recalling how to communicate in the primordial language of creation itself, the language of energy. Long before human words existed, before symbols and writing systems emerged, there was this original dialogue between consciousness and reality. This isn't a language spoken through words, but transmitted through vibrational frequencies that emerge naturally from your state of being. Think about how profoundly this reframes your spiritual journey. Instead of striving to become enlightened, you're simply removing the obstacles to recognizing the light that's always been there. Instead of trying to master manifestation techniques, you're remembering the natural creative capacity that is your birthright. Every moment of clarity, every synchronicity, every breakthrough isn't something you've achieved. It's something you've remembered, like fragments of a dream returning upon awakening. Behind the scenes of this remembrance process is a recognition of what reality actually is. Imagine the universe not as a collection of separate physical objects floating in empty space, but as a vast ocean of conscious intelligence, an unbroken field of awareness that permeates and constitutes everything that exists. This cosmic ocean doesn't just contain consciousness as one of its elements. Consciousness is its fundamental nature, its very essence. This conscious field is constantly responding, not to what you say with words, not to what you claim to believe, not even to what you visualize during meditation practice, but to the total energetic melody you emit with your entire being, every thought you sustain beyond a fleeting moment, every emotion you cultivate through attention, every physical state you maintain through habit, all form notes in this complex symphony that broadcasts your true frequency to the universe. The revelation that transforms everything is recognizing that this responsive field doesn't distinguish between what you want and what you don't want, what you love and what you fear, what you consciously choose and what you unconsciously accept. It simply matches your dominant frequency with mathematical precision, bringing into your experience the physical manifestations that correspond to your energetic broadcast. This understanding completely revolutionizes how you approach the creation process. Rather than trying to manipulate external reality through force or will, you focus on becoming a clear and coherent broadcaster of the frequency that matches what you desire to experience. The journey shifts from doing to being, from acquiring to allowing, from controlling to calibrating. Your primary creative work becomes maintaining the energetic state that resonates with your desired reality, trusting that the physical manifestation must follow according to universal law. What makes this approach so different from conventional manifestation teachings is that it honors the intelligence of the universe rather than trying to override it with human agenda. Instead of approaching creation as if you're placing an order with a cosmic delivery service, specifying exactly what you want and when you want it, you're participating in a profound dialogue with an intelligence far vaster than your individual mind. You're not dictating terms but dancing with possibility, not demanding outcomes but aligning with potentials. This dance requires a completely different set of skills than those emphasized by achievement-oriented culture. Instead of forcing, striving, and controlling, you cultivate receptivity, alignment, and coherence. You learn to listen to the subtle guidance that emerges from within, rather than imposing your limited perspective from without. You develop sensitivity to energetic feedback, rather than pushing blindly toward predetermined outcomes. The decisions you make from this place of remembrance have a completely different quality than those made from forgetting. They emerge not from fear, but from trust, not from separation, but from connection, not from lack, but from wholeness. As you continue to remember your true nature as a conscious creator expressing through the medium of energy, the very fabric of your reality begins to respond with increasing precision and grace. If you've begun to sense that this spiritual journey isn't about acquiring something new, but remembering something ancient and essential that you've always known, write in the comments, "I'm remembering the language of energy." Let's explore how this remembrance transforms your relationship with the invisible forces that shape your visible reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into what might be the most transformative revelation in this entire journey. You've begun to recognize something extraordinary. You've always been in constant communication with this infinite field of intelligence, every moment of every day, without interruption. This dialogue has been unfolding whether you were aware of it or not. The breakthrough isn't establishing this connection for the first time, but becoming conscious of the conversation that has been happening all along. Think about the profound implications of this understanding. All those times you felt you were shouting into the void. All those prayers that seemed to go unanswered. All those moments of isolation and disconnection, none of them reflected an actual separation from the source. The communication was never broken. You were simply unaware of how the language of energy actually functions. It's like having a sophisticated communication device but never reading the operating instructions, then wondering why your messages aren't being transmitted properly. What's changing now isn't the establishment of a new connection, but an awakening to the true nature of the connection that has always existed. You're learning to communicate with this infinite field consciously, with intention and clarity, rather than broadcasting unconsciously through default patterns and unexamined beliefs. This shift from unconscious to conscious creation represents perhaps the most significant evolutionary leap in human potential, the moment when you become an active participant in your reality rather than a passive recipient of circumstances. Behind this energetic communication exists perhaps the most valuable skill you could possibly develop, a capacity so fundamental to your spiritual evolution that it quite literally transforms every aspect of your journey. This skill isn't something exotic or complicated. In fact, it's so natural and intrinsic to your being that you've likely been dismissing or overlooking it for most of your life. The ability to listen to your intuition's whispers isn't simply about having a helpful inner voice that offers occasional guidance. It's about recognizing that you possess a direct communication channel with the universal intelligence that flows through everything, including you. Your intuition isn't separate from the cosmic wisdom. It's that very wisdom expressing itself through your unique consciousness, offering guidance perfectly calibrated to your specific journey. When you learn to quiet the incessant noise of your analytical mind, the endless commentary, judgments, predictions, and rehashing of the past, something remarkable happens. Beneath that mental static, you discover a different quality of knowing altogether. This intuitive wisdom doesn't arrive through the laborious process of logical analysis, but emerges fully formed, often in an instant, carrying with it a sense of certainty that transcends ordinary understanding. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that this intuitive guidance isn't random or arbitrary. It's not merely a product of your subconscious processing or emotional reactions. It's actually the universe itself communicating directly with you through the medium of your awareness. When properly understood, your intuition becomes the most sophisticated guidance system imaginable, one that takes into account factors far beyond what your conscious mind could ever process. Think about decisions you've made against your intuition, only to discover later that your intuitive sense was absolutely correct. Or those moments when you followed a subtle, intuitive nudge that led to an extraordinary synchronicity or opportunity that you couldn't possibly have planned. These aren't coincidences or lucky guesses. They're glimpses of this communication system operating as it was designed to, guiding you toward your highest expression and greatest good. The mindset shift that transforms your relationship with intuition is recognizing that you don't need to force this guidance or struggle to access it. It's always broadcasting, like a radio station that's continuously transmitting. Your work isn't generating the signal, but tuning your receiver to the right frequency. This happens naturally when you create enough internal space and silence for these subtle whispers to be heard above the mental chatter that often drowns them out. Behind the scenes of intuitive guidance is a profound truth. The same intelligence that coordinates entire ecosystems, that orchestrates the movement of galaxies, that manages the unfathomably complex operations of your physical body without your conscious involvement. This same intelligence is available to guide your decisions, your creative expressions, your relationships, and every other aspect of your life. The only requirement is your willingness to listen and trust what emerges. The decisions you make from this intuitive alignment have a completely different quality than those made from mental calculation alone. They often defy conventional logic, yet lead to outcomes far more elegant and beneficial than anything you could have strategized. They carry a signature feeling of rightness that transcends doubt, not because you've convinced yourself through arguments, but because you're aligned with something greater than your individual perspective. If you've experienced those moments when following your intuition led you to exactly where you needed to be, even when it made no logical sense at the time, write in the comments, "My intuition connects me to infinite intelligence." Let's explore how this intuitive connection becomes increasingly active in every dimension of your daily experience. What's particularly fascinating about this awakening to energetic language is that once initiated, it begins to operate continuously, 24 hours a day. Whether you're consciously focusing on it or not, this represents one of the most profound shifts in the spiritual journey. Initially, most seekers experience moments of alignment or clarity during specific practices like meditation, journaling, or intentional manifestation work. But as this awakening deepens, something remarkable happens. The boundaries between your spiritual practice and your regular life begin to dissolve. Your entire being, your thoughts, emotions, physical body and energy field gradually becomes an increasingly precise transmitter and receiver in this cosmic conversation. This alignment doesn't require your constant conscious attention or effort. It begins to happen automatically, like breathing or your heartbeat, functions that continue perfectly without your need to monitor or control them. This is the natural evolution from doing spiritual practices to being a spiritual presence. Behind the scenes of this shift is a fundamental recalibration of your entire system, your body's electromagnetic field, your subconscious patterns, even your cellular memory, all begin to naturally attune to higher frequencies of consciousness. You might notice this as a new baseline of well-being that persists even during challenging circumstances, or as an intuitive knowing that arises without effort, or as synchronicities that appear with increasing frequency in your daily experience. The more you allow this natural alignment, the more your frequency automatically harmonizes with the vibrations of abundance, love, peace, and creativity that are the fundamental tones of the universe itself. You're not forcing yourself to think positive or struggling to maintain an artificial state. You're simply allowing your system to return to its natural resonance with the field of all possibilities. It's as if you've been living right next to an ocean of infinite abundance your entire life. But until now, you've only been able to look at it from the shore, perhaps occasionally dipping your toes in the shallows. You've seen others swimming freely in these waters, experiencing the buoyancy, freedom, and nourishment they provide, while you remain primarily on land, wondering what their experience was really like. Now you're not just wading in, you're learning to swim in this ocean of possibility that has always surrounded you. This metaphor reveals something crucial about the transformation you're experiencing, the abundance, guidance, and creative potential you're discovering. Haven't suddenly appeared from nowhere. They've been present all along, as close as the air you breathe, as available as the ground beneath your feet. The only thing that's changing is your ability to access and navigate these infinite waters that have always been your natural environment. As this alignment deepens, the very nature of your decision-making process transforms. The choices that shape your journey are no longer informed solely by logical analysis and rational thinking, though these faculties remain valuable tools. Your decisions become increasingly guided by direct energetic communication with the infinite field of possibilities. You develop what might be called field sensitivity, an ability to sense which choice, which path, which expression is most aligned with both your highest good and the greater unfoldment. This dual guidance system, integrating both your human intelligence and universal intelligence, creates a completely different quality of decision-making than either one alone. Purely logical decisions often lack the wisdom of the heart and intuition. Purely emotional or intuitive choices sometimes benefit from the clarity and structure of the rational mind. But when these aspects work in harmony, something extraordinary emerges. Decisions that are both practical and inspired, grounded and visionary, personal and universal. The impact of these aligned choices ripples through every dimension of your experience. Relationships transform as you naturally attract connections that resonate with your authentic frequency. Work evolves from obligation to creative expression as you align with opportunities that match your unique gifts. Even your relationship with money and resources shifts as you recognize abundance as your natural state rather than something to be struggled for or hoarded. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it doesn't require you to reject or abandon the material world in favor of spiritual pursuits. Quite the opposite. It invites you to bring spiritual awareness fully into your everyday human experience, to bridge the false divide between sacred and mundane, to recognize that swimming in this ocean of abundance includes but isn't limited to material prosperity. It encompasses abundance of love, of meaning, of connection, of creative expression, the full spectrum of human experience illuminated by spiritual awareness. If you've begun to notice this subtle but profound shift, where your connection to the field of all possibilities is becoming your new normal rather than an occasional experience, write in the comments, "I'm learning to swim in abundance." Let's explore how this continuous energetic alignment begins to transform how you navigate every aspect of your human journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this energetic awareness transforms one of the most fundamental aspects of human experience, the way you make decisions and navigate life's crossroads. Think about how you've traditionally approached important choices in your life. For most people, decision-making has been primarily a mental exercise, weighing pros and cons, analyzing potential outcomes, consulting experts or gathering opinions, and then choosing the option that seems most logical or beneficial according to conventional wisdom. While analytical thinking certainly has its place, what you're discovering now is a much more sophisticated guidance system that incorporates but transcends purely mental analysis. When facing a vital crossroads, whether it's a career decision, a relationship choice, or any other significant life junction, you're beginning to access another dimension of information altogether. You're learning to tune into the energetic resonance of each option, sensing how it feels in your body, your heart, and your expanded awareness. This isn't about abandoning critical thinking, but complementing it with a direct felt perception of energetic alignment. You begin to notice that different possibilities carry distinct vibrational signatures. Some options might look impressive on paper, but feel contracted or heavy when you tune into their energy. Others might seem less logical by conventional standards, yet carry a lightness, an expansiveness, or a quiet certainty when you sense into them beyond thought. The breakthrough comes when you recognize that this energetic feedback isn't random or subjective. It's actually your most sophisticated navigational system providing precise information about which path is most aligned with your authentic essence and highest potential. It's as if each choice creates a specific harmonic pattern, and you're sensing which one resonates most perfectly with your unique soul frequency. Behind the scenes of this intuitive decision-making is a profound truth. Your body and energy field are actually processing vast amounts of information that your conscious mind simply cannot track. Studies in neuroscience are increasingly confirming what ancient wisdom traditions have always known, that your body's intelligence, operating through what some call the enteric nervous system or heart-brain, is capable of recognizing patterns and sensing optimal pathways with remarkable accuracy. What's truly revolutionary about this approach is that this energetic language isn't reserved for rare, momentous decisions or special spiritual occasions. It naturally integrates into every aspect of your daily life, transforming even the most mundane activities into opportunities for conscious vibrational communication. The way you move through physical space, the quality of your presence when interacting with others, even how you prepare food or tend to your environment, all become expressions of this ongoing energetic dialogue. Notice how differently you navigate a room when you're consciously aware of energy compared to when you're operating on autopilot. You might naturally avoid certain spaces that feel stagnant or heavy, and Gravitate toward areas with better flow. In conversations, you become attuned not just to the words being exchanged, but to the underlying energy being transmitted. You sense when to speak, when to listen, when to lean in, when to give space, all guided by this subtle, energetic awareness. Even seemingly mundane activities like cooking, cleaning, or organizing your space take on a different quality when approached as opportunities for energetic communication. The intention and presence you bring to these tasks transforms them from chores into expressions of consciousness. You're not just preparing a meal, you're infusing food with loving awareness. You're not just tidying a room, you're harmonizing its energy field. Every action becomes both an expression of your current vibration and an opportunity to elevate it. This integration of energetic awareness into daily life represents perhaps the most beautiful aspect of spiritual awakening. It dissolves the artificial boundary between the spiritual and the ordinary, revealing that every moment, every interaction, every choice is an opportunity for conscious creation. You begin to recognize that you're never off duty from this creative conversation with the universe, not because you're forcing yourself to maintain a spiritual practice, but because you've recognized that life itself is the practice. The impact of this integration extends far beyond personal benefit. As your presence becomes increasingly coherent and conscious, you naturally affect the energetic fields of everyone and everything you encounter. Without trying to change or fix others, your aligned state creates a resonance that invites those around you to remember their own connection to Source. You become what some traditions call a stabilizing presence, someone whose energetic coherence helps recalibrate the fields of collective consciousness simply through your way of being. If you've begun to notice how your energetic awareness is naturally flowing into everyday moments and transforming how you navigate even simple choices and interactions, write in the comments, "My daily life has become my spiritual practice." Let's explore how this moment-to-moment awareness leads to the discovery of what might be the most powerful spiritual truth of all. Now, I want to take you to the absolute heart of this transformative journey, to what might be called the master key that unlocks all other spiritual understandings. After exploring the cosmic synchronicities that brought you here, the remembrance of your true nature, the language of energy, and the integration of these awarenesses into daily life, we arrive at what is perhaps the most profound revelation of all, the absolute power of the eternal now. There exists a truth so deceptively simple, yet so utterly revolutionary, that when fully grasped, it instantly transforms your entire experience of conscious creation. This truth isn't complex or esoteric. In fact, it's so obvious that it's often overlooked entirely, hidden in plain sight amid our complicated spiritual pursuits. Yet this single understanding has the power to dissolve every obstacle, resolve every confusion, and illuminate every aspect of your manifestation journey. The revelation is this: the only point of power that ever exists is this precise present moment. Not yesterday with its memories and regrets, not tomorrow with its hopes and fears. Only this eternal now, this infinitesimal yet infinite moment that is, forever renewing itself at the leading edge of creation. Everything else, all past experiences, all future possibilities, exists only as thought forms within this ever-present now. As these journey words integrate into your consciousness, something extraordinary begins to happen. A new story of your soul is being written simultaneously, not a narrative anchored in past identities or future projections, but a living story titled simply Now. This isn't a continuation of your previous life tale with all its limitations and patterns. It's a fresh creation emerging from the infinite potential of this present moment. Behind the scenes of this profound shift is a revolutionary understanding about the nature of time itself. What we experience as a linear progression from past to future is actually a mental construct, a useful one for navigating physical reality, but not an absolute truth. In the deepest sense, there is only ever this moment, continuously renewing itself in an eternal dance of becoming. The implications of this understanding for conscious creation are nothing short of extraordinary. If the only point of power is now, then any attempt to create from regret about the past or anxiety about the future is fundamentally misaligned with how reality actually functions. When you try to manifest from thoughts like, "I'll be happy when," or "once this happens then," or "if only that hadn't occurred," you're essentially placing your creative power in non-existent time, zones where it cannot operate. The mindset breakthrough that changes everything is recognizing that all your creative power, all your capacity to transform, heal, manifest, and evolve exists solely in this present moment. This isn't a spiritual platitude, but a precise description of how the mechanics of consciousness actually work. You cannot create yesterday, you cannot create tomorrow, you can only create now. And from this now, all possibilities unfold. What makes this understanding so transformative is that it instantly liberates you from the burden of time-based suffering. The regrets, grudges, and wounds of the past exist only as thought patterns in the present. The worries, fears, and anxious projections about the future exist only as mental images in the present. When you fully arrive in the now, you discover a spacious freedom that no amount of past healing or future planning can provide. This presence isn't about ignoring practical planning or dismissing the lessons of experience. It's about recognizing where your actual point of power resides. From this centered awareness in the now, you can access memories or envision futures, but you do so consciously, without becoming lost in time-bound thought patterns that disconnect you from your creative power in this moment. The decisions you make from this timeless awareness have a completely different quality than those made from time-based consciousness. They emerge not from reaction to the past or anticipation of the future, but from the clear perception of what is actually true and aligned in this present reality. They aren't burdened by the weight of history or the uncertainty of what might come. They arise freshly from the infinite potential of now. As this understanding deepens, your entire approach to manifestation transforms. You no longer see creation as a process that occurs over time, moving from desire to fulfillment across a temporal gap. You recognize that the creative act itself, the alignment of your being with a particular frequency, happens only ever in this moment. The appearance of manifestation unfolding through time is simply the physical reality catching up to what has already been created energetically in the now. If you've begun to sense this shift from time-based to timeless awareness, from creating across a temporal distance to creating from the eternal now, write in the comments, "I am discovering the power of now." Let's explore how this timeless presence transforms not just what you create, but your entire experience of existence itself. Now, I want to go even deeper into this revelation about the eternal present and explore how it transforms your entire relationship with time itself. When we really contemplate the nature of our experience, we discover something remarkable. The past doesn't actually exist as a reality we can touch or interact with. It lives only as memory in your mind, as neural patterns, as stories you tell yourself about what happened. Similarly, the future has no tangible existence. It lives only as anticipation of possibilities, as mental projections, as imagined scenarios that may or may not come to pass. The only thing that has actual existence, the only thing you can directly experience, is this eternal present moment. And it is precisely here, in this infinitesimal yet infinite now, that all your creative power resides. This isn't a poetic metaphor or a spiritual platitude. It's a precise description of where and how consciousness interfaces with reality. The point of absolute creative power is always this eternal present, continuously renewing itself at the leading edge of becoming. What makes this understanding so revolutionary is the recognition that in this timeless now, you exist in a state of fundamental completeness and integrity that transcends external circumstances. You're not becoming whole. You are whole. You're not working toward worthiness. You are worthy. You're not striving for connection with Source. You are that connection. These aren't aspirational statements, but descriptions of the actual nature of your being when experienced from present moment awareness rather than time-bound thinking. Behind the scenes of this profound shift is a complete reframing of the spiritual journey itself. Rather than seeing yourself as an incomplete being moving through time toward eventual fulfillment, you recognize yourself as already complete in essence, simply allowing that completeness to express itself more fully through the vehicle of your human experience. This isn't about denying growth or evolution, but recognizing that true transformation happens vertically through depth of presence rather than horizontally across a timeline. This understanding completely liberates you from what might be called the tyranny of linear time, the mental construct that has perhaps caused more unnecessary suffering than any other aspect of human experience. When you're fully anchored in the now, you're no longer trapped in regrets about things that cannot be changed, or anxieties about circumstances that haven't occurred. You're freed from the endless cycle of ruminating about the past and worrying about the future that consumes so much of our mental and emotional energy. The impact of this liberation extends far beyond just feeling better, though that certainly happens. You become fully present and completely available to create in perfect harmony with the infinite intelligence that breathes through all life forms. Your creative capacity exponentially expands, because all your energy is unified in this moment rather than scattered across imaginary timelines. Your intuition functions with remarkable clarity because it's no longer clouded by time-bound thought patterns. The transformative power of presence reveals itself in every dimension of your experience. Relationships transform as you bring your full attention to each interaction rather than relating through the filters of past hurts or future expectations. Work evolves from a means to an end into an opportunity for complete engagement and creative expression. Even challenges and difficulties take on a different quality when met with the spacious awareness of the now rather than resistance based on past patterns. What's most extraordinary about this present moment awareness is that it's always available. It requires no special circumstances, no particular achievement, no specific preparation. It's as close as your next conscious breath, as available as the sensations in your body right now, as accessible as the sounds currently reaching your ears. The portal to the eternal now is always open, inviting you to step through and claim the creative power that is your birthright. The decisions and choices that emerge from this timeless awareness have a completely different quality than those made from time-bound thinking. They aren't reactions to the past or strategies to control the future, but authentic responses to what is actually present in this moment. They emerge not from fear of what might happen or fixation on what has happened, but from clear perception of what is happening now. This creates a foundation for creation that is unshakably aligned with the natural intelligence of life itself. If you've begun to experience moments of this timeless presence where you're completely free from the mental constructs of past and future, fully available to the creative power of now, write in the comments, "I am stepping out of time." Let's explore how this freedom from linear time opens the door to perhaps the most profound spiritual insight of all, the recognition of who you truly are beyond all temporal limitations. Now, I want to go even deeper into a profound revelation that completely transforms how you understand the spiritual journey itself. As this awareness of the eternal now deepens, something remarkable happens. You begin to recognize that the manifestation journey was never really about reaching some final destination where you would finally make it. It was never about arriving at that perfect set of circumstances where you could finally relax, where you could say, "I've done it," and be complete. This realization represents one of the most liberating breakthroughs on the spiritual path. So many seekers exhaust themselves chasing an imaginary finish line that keeps moving further away the closer they seem to get. They operate from the mindset that enlightenment, abundance, fulfillment, whatever they're seeking, exists somewhere in the future, and their job is to somehow get there through effort, dedication, and perseverance. This approach creates a perpetual state of not yet, a constant deferral of peace and completion to some hypothetical future moment. The hidden truth that transforms everything is recognizing that the journey was always about realizing that each moment, this very moment you're experiencing right now, contains within itself the seed of infinite, creative possibilities. The treasure wasn't buried at the end of a long road. It was hidden in plain sight, in the ground beneath your feet all along. This isn't a metaphorical truth, but a literal description of how reality functions when perceived from awakened awareness. Behind the scenes of this profound shift is a complete reframing of what progress actually means. In the conventional understanding, we see ourselves moving along a horizontal timeline towards some better future state. But in this awakened perspective, true evolution happens vertically, through depth of presence, through fuller embodiment of consciousness in this moment, through clearer recognition of what is already here. This vertical dimension of growth has no final destination because it's an infinite exploration of the boundless depth contained within each now. Each now moment becomes recognized as a portal to the next expression of your evolution, not a stepping stone to get somewhere else, but a doorway, through which consciousness can express itself with increasing clarity and freedom. Every moment presents a point of conscious choice where you can align more fully with your essential nature as divine co-creator. This choice point isn't about selecting the right path to reach some distant goal, but about how fully you show up in this moment, how completely you embody your authentic presence right here. The transformative insight that changes everything is recognizing that the power to manifest consciously resides precisely in this eternal now, the only point where creative power is truly available. You cannot create yesterday, you cannot create tomorrow, you can only create in this moment. And when your full presence, your complete attention, your undivided consciousness is here, you access a creative capacity that transcends all the limited manifestation techniques based on future attainment. This understanding dissolves the artificial boundary between the journey and the destination, between the process and the goal, between seeking and finding. When you're fully present in the now, you realize that fulfillment isn't something to be achieved through time, but something to be recognized as already here in the depth of this moment. The abundance, peace, love, and joy you seek don't need to be manufactured or attracted from elsewhere. They are qualities of your true nature, available whenever you step out of time-bound thinking into the eternal present. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it completely transforms your relationship with desire itself. In conventional manifestation teaching, desire is often seen as pointing to an absence, something you lack that needs to be fulfilled in the future. But in this awakened perspective, desire becomes recognized as a creative impulse arising within the fullness of now, not pointing to what's missing, but indicating the next expression of what's already complete in essence. The decisions you make from this timeless, Awareness aren't strategies to get somewhere else, but expressions of who you already are in your deepest nature. They emerge not from lack-seeking fulfillment, but from fullness-seeking expression. This fundamentally changes the energy behind your creative process, from grasping to allowing, from forcing to flowing, from seeking to finding. And paradoxically, this shift in consciousness often accelerates the manifestation of your desires precisely because you're no longer creating resistance through attachment to specific outcomes. If you've begun to sense this profound shift, where you're no longer chasing fulfillment in some imagined future, but discovering it in the depth of each present moment, write in the comments, "Each now moment is my portal to creation." Let's explore how this present moment awareness transforms not just your individual journey, but your relationship with the entire field of consciousness. Now, I want to go even deeper into an aspect of this journey that extends far beyond individual awakening, into the remarkable power of the collective creative field we're participating in together. What we've been experiencing during these hours of exploration isn't merely a one-way transmission of information. It's a living field of resonance that we've been co-creating, despite being separated by physical space and perhaps even time as you watch this video. This shared field of consciousness testifies to something profound about the nature of reality itself, that beneath the apparent separation of our individual experiences lies an unbroken continuity of awareness that connects us all. The resonance you may have felt while contemplating these concepts isn't just an emotional reaction to words, but a recognition happening at the level of your essential nature. It's your consciousness recognizing itself in these expressions, like one wave recognizing its connection to the entire ocean. Behind the scenes of this shared experience is a phenomenon that quantum physicists have been exploring through concepts like entanglement and non-locality, the understanding that once two particles have interacted, they remain connected regardless of distance, responding to each other instantaneously across any span of space. In a similar way, when consciousness is attuned to the same frequency of awareness, a connection is established that transcends physical limitations, creating what might be called a morphic field or resonant pattern that amplifies the individual experience. What makes this collective field so powerful is that it operates according to principles of exponential rather than additive growth. When you meditate alone, you create a certain field of coherence. But when you meditate with others holding a similar intention, the effect isn't just the sum of individual fields, but a multiplication that creates something far greater than what any person could generate alone. This is the hidden truth behind all authentic spiritual communities throughout history. They weren't just groups of individuals practicing together, but conscious generators of field effects that could transform reality at levels beyond what the rational mind can comprehend. The video format we're engaging through might seem like a limitation, a one-way stream of communication across digital space. But the truth is that we've been connected in this eternal now, co-creating an experience that transcends these apparent constraints. The recognition you feel, the resonance that occurs when a concept clicks into place in your understanding, these aren't happening in isolation, but are contributions to a field that includes everyone who has ever engaged with these truths, past, present, and future, recognizing that ultimately all is happening in the eternal now. If these words have found a home in your heart, if you've felt that spark of recognition while exploring these timeless truths, that subtle yes that arises not from intellectual agreement but from a deeper knowing, then you're experiencing your natural resonance with this field of awakened consciousness. This isn't about adopting new beliefs or joining a movement based on concepts. It's about recognizing your place in a community of consciousness that has always existed, woven through the fabric of humanity's journey across time. The invitation being extended now isn't primarily about external association, but about conscious participation. It's about becoming an active, intentional contributor to a collective field of creation that is literally elevating the vibrational frequency of the planet itself, one awakened heart and mind at a time. This isn't grandiose spiritual rhetoric, but a precise description of what happens when individuals reclaim their creative power and align it with the greater evolutionary impulse moving through all of life. This participation doesn't require you to change your external circumstances, adopt specific practices, or join formal organizations, though these might naturally occur as expressions of your journey. It simply invites you to bring the awareness we've been exploring together into every dimension of your life, recognizing that each moment of presence, each choice made from alignment, each expression of your authentic being contributes to the transformation of the whole in ways that extend far beyond what can be visibly measured. The impact of this collective field isn't abstract or merely spiritual. It manifests intangible effects that ripple through our shared reality. Research in consciousness studies has documented how synchronized meditation by groups of practitioners can measurably reduce crime rates in surrounding areas, affect random number generators, and influence other material phenomena through non-local consciousness effects. These aren't magical claims, but empirical observations of how consciousness interacts with physical reality when focused coherently. What we're creating together transcends the usual categories of spiritual teaching or personal development. It's nothing less than a conscious participation in the evolutionary unfolding of awareness itself, a process that has been occurring throughout human history but is now accelerating as more individuals awaken to their true nature and creative power. If you sense yourself as part of this emerging field of conscious co-creators, if you recognize that your awakening isn't separate from the greater awakening happening throughout humanity, write in the comments, "I am part of the collective field of transformation." Let's explore how this collective awakening is creating ripple effects that extend far beyond individual experience. Now, I want to go even deeper into what might be the most practical and immediately accessible aspect of this entire journey: the transformative power of gratitude. Among all the frequencies you can embody, gratitude stands as perhaps the most potent catalyst for manifestation. This isn't just a nice spiritual sentiment, but a precise description of how energy operates in the quantum field of consciousness. When you exist in a state of genuine appreciation, you create a vibrational signature that automatically aligns you with the abundance frequency of the universe itself. Think about the fundamental difference between these two states. When you're focused on what's lacking, you emit a frequency of absence that naturally attracts more experiences of scarcity. But when you cultivate authentic gratitude for what already exists, you broadcast a signal of fullness that magnetically draws more reasons to be grateful into your experience. The beauty of gratitude as a transformative practice is that it requires no special training, no complex techniques, and no particular circumstances to activate. It's available to you in any moment, regardless of your external conditions. Even in the midst of challenges, you can find something, however small, to genuinely appreciate, and that single point of appreciation becomes a doorway through which new possibilities can enter your experience. Behind the scenes of gratitude's power is a profound shift in your relationship with reality itself. When you practice appreciation, you're no longer operating from the perspective of a separate individual trying to acquire things from an external world. Instead, you're acknowledging the interconnected field of abundance that has been supporting you all along, recognizing yourself as an integral part of that field rather than apart from it. This recognition creates a resonance that naturally amplifies whatever you're appreciating. What makes gratitude so revolutionary as a manifestation practice is that it completely bypasses the usual obstacles of doubt, unworthiness, or complicated techniques. You don't need to be spiritually advanced or metaphysically trained to feel appreciation. It's a natural capacity of your heart that, when activated, automatically aligns you with higher frequencies of consciousness. It's perhaps the most direct path to the state of being that naturally attracts your desires. This energy of gratitude can be expressed in countless ways, from elaborate practices to the simplest gestures. Even something as seemingly small as expressing appreciation for content that resonates with you becomes a powerful act of frequency alignment. It's not just a social nicety, but an energetic statement, your way of saying, yes, this resonates with me, of acknowledging the connection between your consciousness and the truth being expressed. These acts of appreciation create ripples in the field that connect your frequency with other seekers on this path. The impact of cultivating gratitude extends far beyond individual manifestation. As you consistently embody this frequency, you become a living transmitter of appreciation in a world often dominated by criticism and complaint. Without any deliberate attempt to influence others, your grateful presence creates an energetic environment that invites those around you to shift their own frequency. You become a catalyst for transformation simply through your way of being. The remarkable journey we've been exploring together doesn't culminate in some final state of arrival or ultimate understanding. The beauty of this path is that it doesn't end. Each revelation, each moment of clarity, each breakthrough understanding simply opens the door to ever deeper exploration. There's always more to discover about how these universal laws can be applied specifically to the areas of your life you most desire to transform. This isn't about accumulating spiritual concepts or collecting metaphysical techniques. It's about the continuous unfoldment of your consciousness, the ever-deepening recognition of who you truly are, and the creative power that is your birthright. Each insight becomes not a final destination, but a threshold to cross into greater awareness, greater freedom, greater capacity, to consciously participate in the creation of your reality. What makes this ongoing journey so extraordinary is that it's completely unique to you. While the universal principles we've explored remain consistent, the way they express through your particular consciousness, circumstances, and creative impulses will be unlike anyone else's experience. Your journey of awakening isn't a standardized path, but a custom-designed unfoldment perfectly calibrated to your specific evolution. As your understanding deepens through lived experience rather than mere intellectual comprehension, you'll discover nuances and applications of these principles that are precisely what you need for your next stage of growth. The universe doesn't reveal everything at once, but provides exactly the understanding required for your current level of embodiment, with each integration naturally opening the door to the next revelation. If you've recognized that gratitude isn't just a pleasant emotion, but a powerful creative frequency that naturally aligns you with abundance, write in the comments, "Gratitude is my manifestation superpower." Let's explore how this frequency of appreciation can be specifically applied to transform the areas of your life that matter most to you. Now, I want to go even deeper into what might be the most liberating revelation of this entire journey. A truth so simple, yet so profound, that it has the power to dissolve years of spiritual seeking in an instant. Remember that in this eternal now, you already are everything you need to be. This isn't a poetic metaphor or a comforting platitude. It's a precise description of the actual nature of your being when perceived from awakened awareness rather than conditioned thinking. The search for completion, for wholeness, for enlightenment has been based on a fundamental misunderstanding, the belief that you are somehow incomplete, separate, or lacking what you need to fully express your authentic nature. This core assumption drives almost all spiritual seeking, creating an endless journey toward a destination that seems to remain perpetually out of reach. But what if the very premise of the search itself was the only obstacle to finding what you seek? Behind the scenes of this profound insight is a revolutionary understanding about the nature of consciousness itself. You already possess all the creative power of the universe flowing through you in this and every moment. It's not something you need to attain or develop or earn. It's what you are. Just as the wave doesn't need to become more ocean-like, it already is the ocean expressing itself in wave form. You don't need to become more connected to source consciousness. You are that consciousness expressing itself in human form. The transformative shift isn't about adding something new to who you are, but removing the obstacles to recognizing what has always been true. It's like clouds temporarily obscuring the sun. The sun doesn't need to become brighter or more sun-like. It simply needs the clouds to part so its natural radiance can shine through unobstructed. In the same way, your task isn't to become someone else or something more, but simply to allow your natural light to shine with increasing clarity and intensity as the clouds of conditioning dissolve. What makes this understanding so revolutionary is that it completely reframes the spiritual journey. Instead of a linear progression towards some future state of enlightenment, it becomes a process of stripping away what isn't true until only your authentic nature remains. Instead of accumulating more spiritual knowledge or techniques, you're releasing the false identities and limiting beliefs that have obscured your recognition of who you've always been. This isn't about becoming, but remembering, not about achieving, but allowing. The impact of this revelation extends far beyond your personal experience. As your authentic self begins to shine forth, without the distortions of fear, doubt, or limitation, you naturally illuminate not only your own path, but also the paths of others. Without any deliberate attempt to teach or influence, your very presence becomes a catalyst for awakening in everyone you encounter. The coherence of your energy field creates a resonance that invites others to remember their own essential nature. This illumination happens naturally and effortlessly, not through proselytizing or trying to convince others of spiritual truths, but simply through embodying your authentic presence in every interaction, every creative expression, every moment of being. When you're no longer hiding behind masks or dimming your light to fit in, you create an energetic permission for others to do the same. Your courage to be fully yourself becomes an unspoken invitation for others to discover their own authentic expression. The mindset breakthrough that transforms everything is recognizing that your awakening isn't separate from the greater awakening happening throughout humanity. Each individual who remembers their true nature contributes to a morphic field of consciousness that makes it easier for others to experience the same recognition. This creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond what can be measured or observed directly, touching lives, transforming relationships, and contributing to the collective evolution of human consciousness itself. Behind this ripple effect is a profound truth about the interconnected nature of all consciousness. We aren't separate beings having individual spiritual experiences, but unique expressions of a unified field having a human experience. When one aspect of this field awakens more fully to its true nature, the entire field is affected. Your personal transformation isn't just about your individual journey, but about the evolution of the whole. This doesn't make your experience less personal or significant. It makes it more meaningful, more consequential, more purposeful than you may have realized. The decisions and choices you make from this place of remembered wholeness have an entirely different quality and impact than those made from a sense of lack or separation. They emerge not from need, but from fullness, not from fear, but from love, not from should, but from want. And as these authentic expressions flow naturally from your being, they create a legacy of light that extends far beyond anything you could calculate or predict. If you've begun to sense this profound truth, that you already are everything you need to be, and your task is simply to allow your natural light to shine more fully, write in the comments, "I am already complete." Let's explore how this recognition of your inherent wholeness transforms not just your individual journey, but your entire relationship with the process of creation itself. As we arrive at this moment of our journey together, I'm filled with profound gratitude for the sacred space we've created, this field of resonance that transcends the digital medium connecting us. What we've explored isn't merely information to be consumed, but living wisdom to be embodied in your unique way, at your own perfect pace. Remember that the transformations we've discussed don't require you to become something different or to acquire anything you don't already possess. The journey is simply about remembering who you've always been beneath the layers of forgetting, a journey of returning to the truth of your essential nature as a conscious creator in this grand cosmic dance. Each insight we've shared today is like a seed planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Some may sprout immediately, while others might gestate for weeks, months, or even years before suddenly blossoming into lived understanding at precisely the right moment. Trust the divine timing of your unique unfoldment. Your soul knows exactly what it needs and when. What makes this community of awakening souls so extraordinary is the resonance we create together, each of us contributing our unique frequency to the collective field of transformation. When you share your insights, your breakthroughs, your questions, and even your struggles in the comments, you're not just expressing yourself, you're actually strengthening this field for everyone. Your voice matters in this conversation, not just for your own journey, but for the evolution of our shared consciousness. If these words have found a home in your heart today, if you felt that spark of recognition as we've explored these timeless truths together, I'd love for you to write in the comments, "This message found me at the perfect time." This simple act creates another thread in the beautiful tapestry of connection we're weaving together. The like button isn't just a digital gesture, it's an energetic one. Each like amplifies this message, sending ripples through the algorithm that help these teachings find others who may be right at that threshold of awakening, waiting for just the right catalyst to remember their true nature. Your simple click becomes part of something much greater, a contribution to the collective field we've been discussing. And if you feel called to continue this journey together, subscribing to this channel creates a lasting connection between us, a commitment to ongoing exploration, revelation, and transformation. Not because you need more information, but because this remembering unfolds in layers, each understanding opening the door to deeper truths that can only be revealed when the time is right. Right beside this video is another exploration that builds beautifully on what we've shared today, taking these universal principles into even more practical application in your daily life. It's not about adding more to your spiritual to-do list, but about discovering how these truths can transform specific areas of your experience with grace and ease. Click there when you feel the intuitive nudge to continue our journey together. Remember that in this eternal now, you already are everything you need to be. Your task isn't to become more spiritual or more enlightened, but simply to allow your natural light to shine with increasing brightness, illuminating not only your own path, but the paths of everyone whose life you touch. As you integrate these understandings into your lived experience, you become a walking embodiment of possibility, a living invitation for others to remember their own divine nature. Our paths have converged in this moment for a reason that transcends what either of us could have consciously orchestrated. There are no accidents in a conscious universe, only synchronicities waiting to be recognized. I honor the light within you that has guided you here, and I celebrate the unique expression of consciousness that you are.